ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
Those of you who have been listening to the show for 10 years, first of all, hi. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your resilience in staying in this and watching us as we have tried to figure some things out over the last 10 years about how we create the kind of world we want to live in with the kind of people we want to be with. In many ways, this has become a family. I have really loved being on this platform because it allows me to reach out and talk to different people. I spend a lot of time in the lab building. And the way we build bigger bridges is by opening these doors and these walls to have more people in, which is why I'm even more impressed with the audience's diversity, meaning like we'll have a 20-something-year-old call. I'm not even mad at the 7-year-olds and the 5-year-olds whose parents I know put them up to it, but some of the 11 and 12-year-olds want to talk, and I like that too. I like the people from all facets of backgrounds who are now part of this family, who are now feeling comfortable to call up. And we're getting more and more, Clay and I were just talking about that, folk that are not from the global majority calling in, and I appreciate that because all perspectives are important. I spend a lot of time on YouTube looking at folks in the platforms. And this gentleman, I play probably a Deontay Kyle clip at least twice a week on these airwaves because there's a depth of understanding of people that I haven't seen. I don't know how old he is. I don't know anything too much about him. I know some things about him. We're going to get into that as well. But I want to say this because, I have a no N-word policy on these airwaves, and he uses that a lot. But I was very conscious in inviting him that I don't want to police his speech. I don't want him coming in with a bow tie on. I want him to be his full natural self. I don't think that he would do anything other than to be that. Somebody in the Nubia chat was like, I don't know if he's going to get through an interview without the N-word. He doesn't have to. As you know, we are all required here to chew up the meat and spit out the bones. And I think he has a lot of meat. I think he reaches people that I don't reach or maybe can't reach or don't know to reach. And I think we need all hands on deck at this point. So he's got a popular podcast. It's called Grits and Eggs, the Grits and Eggs podcast, which you can get wherever you get your podcast. Let me welcome the one and only Deante Kyle. Deante Kyle.
It's me. I'm here. How you doing, Miss Hunter?
Hi. How you doing?
I'm good. I could probably abstain from the N-word,
Okay. Listen, I recognize, it's rhythm of speech, right? So I was raised in the N-word tradition in my household as well. And I have evolved over time to realize, the impact of words and using the master's, denigration of us on one another. While we have tried to make it into a term of endearment, it's like chitlins to me at this point. Like chitlins are still entrails. They may taste good.
Right.
You put hot sauce on them, they clean or whatever, and they're delicious, and we have them for special occasions. It's a delicacy, but it's still entrails, and it's still not the choice meat. And we deserve the choice meat, which you talk about quite frequently. As a matter of fact, let me play a clip on global propaganda, which I really love. Smith, play this clip from Deante Kyle.
As we progress in this country, the further we get, and we have to have an understanding that the last 40 years have impacted us so much when it comes to the war on drugs, but specifically the people that are in those lower income communities, and specifically people that live in like projects and shit like that, in these black ass cities that was targeted. That ain't where every black person was.
No.
So a lot of black people are catching fallout from those situations too that they can't even personally relate to, in terms of being stereotyped. Also, too, we have to understand that a lot of black people's idea of prosperity was moving away from other black people, which affected their kids. You dig what I'm saying? If hip hop is global, it's because American media is global. Imagine that. Like, imagine if you in Asia, right? You ain't never really seen no black people before. And every time they come on TV, they got on like all this exuberant ass jewelry, and it's women shaking their ass, and it's got guns. all the movies you see them in, they stealing or they pimping or they selling drugs, you're going to have a fucked up idea about what the Black American is.
Yeah.
And you're going to assume
that's what it is.
That's what it is, because when you see white people, they behave in a multitude of ways. But every time you see black people, they behave in degenerate ways. So these sold a bad image to us globally.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we were sold a bad image about Africa.
Yes.
My granddad was giving them 25 cents faithfully. It was a part of his tithe and offering. I thought we was helping kids in Africa. I ain't know them had their shit together over there already.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? There's a lot of ignorance that's going on both sides. And at the core of it all, is that goddamn white man. Goddamn trickster.
All right.
Goddamn trickster.
Yeah.
Goddamn devil.
Yeah.
That is the yes. Listening to yourself back. Where this come? Like I'm sitting and like, where have you been? Where'd you come from?
Oh man, I've been taking care of my babies and driving trucks. So I've been
okay.
family manning it. I've been family manning it. So uh getting in the truck kind of gave me a platform where for one I was like in a more isolated space. And it allowed me to really like collect my thoughts and like gather myself around some things that had been ruminating in my mind. And you know, I did some therapy while I was on the road. And I kind of regained my power in that space where I needed some isolation. I have my first baby at 20, and I hopped right into fatherhood, right into husbandhood, right into like what I thought being a man was, but I didn't take care of myself at all. I didn't foster any type of relationship with my inner child. I was just taught to grow up, be a man, get a job, pay your bills, take care of your family. Um, and I came directly out of the streets into working class. So that allowed me a space to really gather my thoughts around things that I saw socially, my ideas about this country nationally, and then our history and outcomes, clips like that.
What was I always talk about this road to Damascus, where Paul was like, "Oh, I'm blind. Wait a minute, I should be killing these Christians." Did you have a moment like that? Was it a book? Was it an experience that made you sit up? It wasn't just fatherhood, because people have babies every day. Something
Correct.
happened.
I think it was there was a documentary called Zeitgeist. Um, and it started talking about the history of religion and theology and how similar some of the stories were. And my transition out of the street was like straight into church. That's what I was raised up on, that my grandma had passed. So I figured, okay, I'm gonna get my life together now. This is the way she would have wanted me to do it. And this is my way of honoring her, correct? But I was starting to question some things in that was going on. And I was like, maybe I don't know enough. So, I don't want to speak from a perspective of ignorance. So I started looking for the answers. And I think that woke me up to the history of not only Christianity, but just like religion in general. And then I came across Hidden Colors, which,
Mm.
which spoke to the history of Black people. And it spoke to our history pre-slavery. And that's what really kind of set the fire up under me and was like, I need to know more. I need to know more about myself. I need to know more about my history in this country, and I need to know who I was before I even got here.
Wow. I could be super critical of delivery, people who deliver stuff to the people, but you just said something just now with Hidden Colors, because if that was the thing that gave us Deontay Kyle, thank you. I
Yeah,
never thought I was saying,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like,
I'm not a big fan of the people that some of the figureheads that have stemmed from that. But the message over the messenger, they was delivering a good message. I may not be a big fan of the messengers, but like you said earlier, you chew up the meat and spit out the bones. That's what I had to do with that. Because once we got the Hidden Colors 3, I was like, all right, I'm out. I'm out. This ain't for me no more. But I think literature played a big part too, because we would hear stories about like Booker T. Washington, Madam C.J. Walker, and we would hear like these stories from my grandparents growing up about like who these figures were, like the Frederick Douglasses, the Harriet Tubmans and the roles they played. But I didn't know anything about them outside of like, that few weeks in Black history where they just kind of just gloss over these people. So I was like, I'm gonna go back and really like I'm gonna read their autobiographies. I'm gonna read into the history and the actual the roles that they actually played. And when you get started on that path, the like when you when you get a little inkling of knowledge, you just want more. And so I've been on a journey as a student for the past 10, 11, 12 years. I've only been speaking publicly, making content, and then now with my podcast for the past 2 or 3 years. So, I
Man,
mean, I'm still learning myself.
you shout out like the first time I saw you, I got like chills because I said something special about him. I don't know what it is, but I can't stop watching him. And I see you figuring stuff out, but also there's a deep like emotional, they call it EQ. There's an emotional maturity that I don't see too often. I don't know how old you are. I don't know nothing about you. So I wanted to invite you on. I reached out. I was like, I need to know this man because
Yeah,
this is the way forward.
I'm 35. I'm a young man, but I think fatherhood, having an autistic child, that will that'll build in some patience with you because you can't handle and approach them the same way. And I learned through that we've probably been handling and approaching our children the wrong way this whole time. So and then now, like my youngest is a girl, fatherhood will really give you some patience, but it also like heighten your emotional awareness and your emotional capacity. And I think also too, just like that translate into how I handled myself. I used to handle myself really rough. I would talk terribly to myself. And so when I changed those patterns, it
Mm,
would allow me to change the patterns about how I handle and approach everybody else. And I'm a pretty respect first type person. Like I'm gonna approach everybody with respect until you show me otherwise. And I think that also has like widened my capacity to have empathy. And I truly love our people and I love our community. I love our
yes.
history. And I love like the power that we have and the resilience that we have. Like one of the shows I was doing yesterday, I was telling them like joy is resistance. Like when Black people are happy, we're actively resisting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was watching you talk about the Black Scottish and the Black Irish, and here come the
Yeah,
British with their old hateful selves, like hate is
I
in
don't
their
know what.
DNA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what they got going on out there, man. I think it's the weather.
Yeah. No, I had a podcaster on, and he's white guy. He's married to a Black woman, and he said, Black people, like white joy is winning. Like they go out and conquer, and that's their joy. Like just, but the kind of joy that we have is like not is foreign. And when I say white, again, white is a made up construct. You don't have to be aligned with that. You could do something different. Y'all could do something different. You don't have to align yourself with that. There's a lot of
Absolutely,
things that you could be. You don't have to be white. This is a political, it's a power dynamic. And we have to, I think, frame that as well, because even how we treat one another is in juxtaposition to this thing called whiteness. So,
absolutely. I
yeah.
think we done picked up and carried a lot of the master's tools along the way. And I think a lot of it is reinforced by media. I think a lot of it is reinforced by our elders. But I think the thing is like when you start looking at your elders, this is a concept that I have to explain to a lot of like my millennial and Gen Z folk. It's like when you looking at when you looking at your grandma, understand that her grandma was enslaved. So the rituals, the routines, the mentality, it's all to protect you, even if it seems harsh. It's protecting your life. A lot of their children um, was born into a serious life or death situation, and they understood that, so they had to rear us like that. And I think that the further we get away from that, the more we can adopt better tools of how to rear our children and how to handle each other. And there's going to be some overcorrection in some spot, but we can't do away with our traditions altogether because those traditions preserved us and gave us what we call culture right now.
Yeah. Deontay Kyle is here. Grits and Eggs, the podcast. So I'm imagining you're from the South
Yes,
because grits
ma'am.
and eggs. Um, Sugar on the grits or butter?
We never doing sugar on our grits.
Okay. All
We,
right. All
we
right. All right.
yeah.
I knew. Yes. I just wanted to check. Where are you from?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from Wilmington, North Carolina, I moved to Atlanta when I was 13. My mother's from Atlanta. My
Okay.
grandma's from Thomaston, Georgia. So, we got some Southern roots out all the way through.
Where did you come up with the title for the podcast?
The title come from so the my first experience with being independent and handling myself or taking care of myself and my siblings was when I was 11 years old. My parents had split up and we stayed with my dad. So my mom could go, like, get her stuff together so she can bring us over there, which we eventually did. So during that time we staying with my dad, my dad, he ain't no super duper nurturer. He a provider though. So he was like, look, I can show you how to make spaghetti. I can show you how to make grits and eggs. And if there's some breakfast meat in there, you can hook that up. If there's some frozen food, but like I just love grits and eggs. It's easy to make. It's like I can eat this for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I tie it to this thing that because this is a thing that sustained me for 3 years. But I also was taking care of myself. So like if I didn't want to go to school, I didn't have to. I still did. But it made me very responsible for myself. But this is also like when I started getting into a space of like being very overt with my expression and like how I thought about things and how I felt about things. Because, uh, the situation was unfortunate, but I gained a lot of independence from it. I probably shouldn't have been taking care of myself at 11 years old, but I was. So I think the thing is like, I really tie it to this thing of like substance and sustenance. And that's what I try to provide in the show. And then from a just creative standpoint, it just sounds good.
Yeah, it does. It does. It catches. When did you know this was gonna catch? Which episode or which episode when you were like, oh, people are listening to Deontay
Um,
Kyle?
I think it's just been I've been blessed to have like a steady growth, something that I can just uh track over time. A lot of people don't like men with mics. So the when I was before I even decided to do a podcast, I was being requested to start long form content on YouTube. But video essays just really wasn't my thing. That's a lot of editing. That's a lot of, that's a very time consuming thing. I felt like a podcast was good for me because it'll allow me to have my talking points and then I could speak freely about them, and just through a stream of consciousness. But that was after 250, 300 requests to start a podcast. I knew it would catch on purely off the strength that I was able to grow following of 100,000 on TikTok within 6 months to a year. Um, and I was like, well, I know integration to other platforms isn't easy, but if I set myself up to integrate people over to YouTube, then it will. And I've had several clips go viral. So like once the virality came upon, I was like, yeah, this gonna be a thing, bro. It's gonna be a thing. And it was just it's been a steady growth, and I'm fortunate. I'm extremely like proud of the people that like are just constantly like subscribing to my Patreon or just always commenting, always supporting me, always sending me supportive messages and things like that. And then some of the collaborations that I've been able to make. But I knew it was going to be a thing probably about last summer. I was like, I got something going, but I was still working, so I was like, we'll figure it
Oh,
out.
so we're no longer working. We
Hey, I'm
we
I'm 5 months out of the truck.
what? Okay, what were you
Hmm.
hauling? Because mother truckers. We have a lot of mother truckers listening to the show. Many ways, Sirius XM is built by our truckers, our longshore people, the mail
Yeah,
carriers. These are our folk.
I'm
We even
telling
had
you,
a
shout
trucker
out to them.
channel. Yeah.
Shout out to
So
the truckers. Shout out to the guys and girls out there on the road. But so I started with like Western Express just to get my experience. Then I moved on to hauling corn and chicken meal. So I was working directly with farms and things like that in like Athens, Alabama. I was up north, but I was all over the map. I think when I settled down, before when I got my local job, I was hauling lumber for 84 Lumber and just going to different building sites and things like that.
so the move to trucking from selling drugs, what was that?
Correct.
What yeah. What
It
when did
was
that happen?
so I would say I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Um, from the time I was like 24 to the time I was like 28, 29. So that's what 2014 to 2020. 18, 19. But I would say younger than that. Yeah, I was like head first into that because that's what I was doing. When I had a pretty serious charge, I had two co-defendants. Nobody snitched. We all beat the charge and got to walk away. And I was like, that'll never happen again. Because everybody I was locked up with was locked up telling me how somebody snitched on them. So I was like, I need to probably make a decision to step away from this street stuff. But I just changed my friend circle and got a job. But I call it like building with sticks. Like I was still I was working job, but I was still like hustling a little bit on the side just to make ends meet. And I think I was justifying it by saying I was making ends meet. Really, I just kind of like the fast money. But yeah, so I think once I kind of got to a place where I'm losing friends and I'm seeing my friends get addicted to drugs and that don't sell drugs no more, now they drug addicts. I'm seeing friends catch serious charges. Um, I'm seeing friends lose all their reputation by snitching, and ultimately the worst part of it is seeing friends die. I think I was like, I got kids, I got a long life ahead of me. I'm starting to learn more about myself, and I don't want to do this no more. Like, I don't want this to be the way I'm represented. Also, like, I don't want to end up dying by association. Like, honestly, so I think it did shape me in a way where like being working class and running the streets too. It give me a lot of relatability to people because I don't got no bad street reputation. Um, but that's rare too. Like everybody don't get out scot
Hmm.
free. I believe I did.
Yeah.
So I think I got to make the most of that.
Yeah. I look at you, I think spelling bee champ in the fifth grade. I feel
Yep.
like okay. I don't
Yep.
know you, but I'm like I said I
I actually was I actually placed like fourth. I just missed the top three. I still remember the word being discontinued. I had messed up something. I don't remember. I think I put a U in there and there ain't no U in there. But yeah,
my
but my
mine
but
was
my
despair.
son,
Mine was
it's
despair.
always them D words. But I'm
Yes.
proud to say my son won the spelling bee last year in fourth grade. He was the only fourth grader that won. He got second place up against a fifth grader. So we continue the legacy of spelling bee champs over here.
Listen. Listen, when I see you, and I think that's part of it too. I see myself on some level, I don't know why like you resonate with me. I see the kid that was smart might have been a little disruptive in class because you were bored. Minus the poverty because that's the one thing I didn't have, and that's the privilege of not having that because poverty makes you make choices that you probably wouldn't make. And I look at where we are right now and what's about to come. We're gonna need soldiers and warriors and folk who are like you reaching these folk because we missed, I think, maybe two generations of leadership to have anybody that
Correct.
people could respect or believe in. And that's why, when I see you, I get like, yes, 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 listen to him. Everybody's been out here grifting, taking checks and building their platforms and making money, but not making a difference. And Deontay Kyle, man, you are absolutely making a difference.
Absolutely. I want them folks to know out there, this ain't. I'm gonna make my money. I ain't never gonna like create no platform. I'm a man. I'm gonna take care of my family. I'm gonna take care of my business, but I ain't never gonna prey on the people for a dollar. I don't ask for nothing like that. I ain't selling no courses. I don't got no wellness program. I ain't got none of that going on. I think the most important thing is information and direction. So I direct young men all the time and young women to go get a trade and to create some type of self-sustaining practice, like create a foundation of income for yourself instead of like, they're gonna funnel you into them warehouses pretty quick. They're gonna funnel you into the Amazon
Hmm.
warehouse pretty quick when you don't know what you want to do. I think I'm a big advocate for trades. Trade, like having a trade saved my life, and it saved my family. And it also gave me another avenue to express myself. So even if you got like creative endeavors that you want to go on and you don't see the academic route being for you, go out there and get you a trade, become a part of a union if it's applicable. But this country is in need of plumbers. This country is in need of electricians. And a lot of things that we look back on in our community and they say, oh, in the 60s and the 70s, We had like tight knit communities where those communities was lifted up by tradesmen and working class men and working class women. And of course, we got our professionals and our academic professionals, our doctors, our lawyers, and those are much needed too. But what we need less of is young people walking around aimlessly trying to figure it out, because that's how you end up in the street, and that's how you end up locked up, or that's how you end up losing your life or on drugs. And I think that we have so many examples of what that road leads you down that we don't need to lose no more lives today.
That's right. That's right.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will